You're listening to the Practice Slacker Podcast, episode 48. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/proactiveslacker. With over 150,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, MP3 player, any electronic device that can play music or audio of any kind, you could probably put one on there.
I think so.
So go do it. Today's podcast is also brought to you by Patreon to figure out how you, yes, you, can help infuse our
Mark.
Mark.
Just put a very specific name in there. Go to patreon.com/PSM.
Yes. And you can be part of the podcast making experience via money. Hello and welcome back to the Practice Slacker Podcast, the official podcast of PracticeSlackerMedia.com. I'm Devin.
And I'm Nick.
And we've got a few things to talk about right off the bat. About 5 minutes before we record the podcast, your sister came in and gave us lattes, it looks like.
Yes.
I've yet to taste mine, actually.
Oh, try it.
Okay.
Right now.
Here we go.
We're watching.
Do we need audio to go with this?
If you want to provide it.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, that was a weird noise at the end there.
Ooh, that's really good.
It is pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah. So my mom and sister go to Starbucks too often and decided that they could save money if they just bought their own latte brewing machine. And it works pretty well. It's pretty tasty.
It's not very hard to save money by not going to Starbucks. Like,
You really don't understand my sister's crippling addiction to Starbucks.
yeah, but
And it's even worse because she's like, she's a giver, she's a philanthropist, so she'll go to Starbucks and on her way text all of her friends, like all of them, and ask what they want, and then literally buy them for them without getting any payment back.
see, that's
So
good, though.
she buys like 5 cups of coffee.
That's good, though, because she cares about people.
It's a nice gesture, but you spend money at Starbucks 5 times as fast.
Now, here's my question. Is her addiction Starbucks specific? Like, is it centralized to Starbucks? Like, it's not just coffee. It's like it has to be Starbucks.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
yeah. If she just liked coffee, it would be easy because I like just coffee and I brew it all different ways all the time at home, at Starbucks, at whatever. But no, she specifically likes a grande mocha non-fat no whip.
Gotcha.
That's what she gets literally every time for the last 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 years.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I've been one to indulge in some Starbucks.
Starbucks is good.
Usually I stockpile on gift cards during Christmas, and then that's all I use. Like, I really
Okay.
only ever go to Starbucks if I have a gift card because it's like, hey,
Okay.
free Starbucks.
You know
And
what I do?
what?
I save up my change every time I like pay with cash. I save my change, and then at some point I go to Coinstar and get a Starbucks gift card because they don't take your money if you get a gift card, and then you can put it on your phone instead of having a dumb receipt. And it's just that's how I pay for Starbucks.
That's pretty legit.
It's pretty awesome.
Do you have a drink of favor at Starbucks?
I do not. The closest thing I have is when I go on the opening shifts and I am too tired, I often get a 4-shot cafe Americano.
Good Lord.
Do you know what an Americano is?
Well, it's already
It's 3 shots of espresso plus a little bit of water.
gotcha.
So I make it 4 and then add less water.
That's
It's awesome.
no,
Yes, it is.
no.
Yes.
That doesn't sound like it.
It wakes me up. It does its job. But I oftentimes try to get something new and different every time I go.
See,
I've asked the baristas if they like. I ask them what their favorite drink is, and I say, make me one of those.
gotcha. So then you always have to make sure to go to a different Starbucks to make sure somebody else is working.
Right.
That way you don't run into the same barista all the time. Like, hey, what's your favorite? Okay, give me that. Because then you're always getting the
Because
same
then you
drink.
would just get their favorite every time.
Yeah. So you have to change it up.
Exactly.
Are you starting to run out of Starbucks to go to do that?
No, I can also read a menu and make my own options very frequently. Okay.
Reading.
All right.
Jeez.
There's also a website that's like dedicated to a Starbucks like secret menu, which is somehow the internet contrives different combination of pump flavors that can make all different kinds of drinks.
Really?
So like you literally tell them what pumps to put into it, like because they have all the pumps of shots of flavors and whatnot. So they have one that's supposed to taste. It's a Frappuccino that's supposed to taste exactly like Captain Crunch, and it's pretty close. and you have to go. I don't remember the exact combination, but you're like 1 pump of strawberry and 2 pumps of vanilla or whatever.
Dude.
It's a crazy.
See,
awesome
this is
website.
what the internet is for.
Is it?
Yes,
Okay.
miraculousness like this. Because for me, I only go to Starbucks for specialty drinks. Because if I want just coffee, I'm like, there's places
Right.
I could go for cheap coffee. Like, do you
And
remember?
it's not Starbucks.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think that's Starbucks' unofficial slogan?
I
Our
guess
coffee
that would
isn't
be good.
cheap.
That would be good. There's places you can go for cheap Starbucks or cheap coffee, but it's not Starbucks.
Yeah.
That would probably be a pretty effective campaign.
It's just a little too long for a slogan.
Yeah, it would have to have a like condensed slogan.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So I normally only go when I want specialty drinks, and those are normally either a raspberry mocha,
delicious.
pretty dang good.
Have you tried a raspberry white mocha?
No.
It's even better.
That sounds pretty good.
It's better.
So raspberry mochas, or I'll get a green tea latte with a shot of
I-
raspberry.
Interesting.
Really good. And
I will
actually,
have to try that.
I never tried that until the barista was like, "Have you ever tried that with some raspberry in that? It's pretty good." I'm like, "No, I haven't." She's like, "No,
See?
I'll put it in there free of charge for you." I'm like, "Oh, cool, sweet."
Those baristas know what's up
Oh yeah,
because they probably just get bored.
or start
Or
mixing
maybe
things.
they mess up. Like they put the wrong pump in. They're like, oh, darn. And so they have to remake the coffee, but then they have just a mess up sitting there, and they're like, I'll drink that.
Yeah.
And then it turns out to be delicious.
Hmm.
I'm going to have to try that next time because I love green tea lattes.
Do it.
Okay. I will.
Do you remember back in way back when in the yonder years of high school?
I don't remember it being so illustrious, but yes, I remember the time period.
Good, because it wasn't that long ago.
Okay.
If you're already starting to forget, I'd get worried.
Forget what?
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 Huh?
Continue.
Anyway, there we had a little. Did you just pull one of those
Yes,
jokes on
I
me?
did.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay. Apparently, our maturity levels haven't changed since high school.
Did you expect them to?
I guess some small part of me did.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, we had a little, I guess, like student store, like in the corner of the cafeteria.
Yes,
It's
the Hawk Rock Cafe or something.
No, that was the kitchen.
Oh, that's what that was called. What was it?
It was the Hawk's Nest.
Hawk's Nest. I'm sorry, all these hawk terminologies, I can't get them mixed up.
Yes, in case you can't tell, our mascot was a hawk.
It
That-
was.
That was our high school animal,
Horizon High School
Hawks.
Hawks.
Yes, and the Hawk's Nest was like a little snack shack, if you will.
Yes, I believe it was kind of student. It was student run and operated, but it was.
Yeah, it was DECA.
Yeah, so it was part of like an extracurricular club, basically.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, DECA is kind of for, again, like you said, extracurricular club suited for marketing and business minded students.
Yes.
And so it was kind of like, hey, run a store before you leave high school. That's kind of cool, right?
Mhm.
And you could get extra credit to go along with that.
yes,
um,
and money. I believe they paid you.
Not much,
No,
but hey.
they didn't sell the things that they bought for very much.
no. Yeah. So, and that brings me to my next point, which is tying the whole coffee thing
Okay.
together. I would always just get coffee in the morning at school.
I often got coffee too. Problem was it was terrible coffee.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Like I've had worse coffee. It was a
Well,
buck.
I have
It was
also
a
had,
buck, Nick.
Yes, I know. That's why I bought it every morning because I had $5 and that was a week's worth of coffee. But it was terrible, and I have also had worse.
Well, here's the thing, Nick. We have different coffee drinking preferences. You
That's
like your
true.
straight black.
I do. So I prefer the term coffee purist. So
Okay.
I know
elitist, more
what
like.
good coffee is because I know what it tastes like, completely devoid of any flavorings.
Okay. And
Is-
me, my coffee preferences have changed over the years. But back in ye old days of yonder year of high school,
Okay.
yesteryear rather, I would like to drown my coffee in creamer,
Okay.
like a third
Now-
creamer.
That's too much.
And they had creamers there that you could just use when you
Yeah.
bought your coffee there. So I'd pay a buck, get my coffee, fill it up with creamer, and I was good to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that masked the horribleness of like the coffee itself.
It did because I had to drown it in creamer because the coffee was so bad.
Gotcha.
I had to put creamer in my which I often don't do. So
Right. Now, over the years, I've come to appreciate and savor the taste of actual coffee itself. And so I've cut down quite a bit on the amount of milk and sugar or creamer that I put in.
which is good
So,
because coffee is delicious.
oh yeah. And I've learned that there's more than just one flavor of coffee. Like coffee has like a lot of different flavors to it.
It does.
Like we bought this one, and it's called Pete's Coffee, and it had this like nutty flavor to it, and it was really good.
Mm-hmm.
So
I really like. My mom often buys the Starbucks blend coffees at this grocery store, so that or Dunkin' Donuts, which is kind of weird, but I really like the dark Sumatra blend or whatever. It's supposed to be like Indonesian coffee or something, but it's what I use. I think it's what's in this.
sounds
I
pretty
feel
good.
pretty confident it's what's in this, but it's delicious.
Whatever it is, it's amazing.
Okay.
So, did I ever tell you about the story the first time I had espresso?
No. This sounds. I'm already interested. So.
Oh, this is a good story. I don't know why I hadn't thought of this before. It's a great story.
Okay.
So I think I want to say it was 2 summers ago. Might have been 3 summers ago. But
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's 2 summers ago. You know Matt Short.
I do.
He's a media buddy of ours. We actually lent him our cameras recently.
Yes.
He texted me the other day saying, "I'm done with your cameras. How do I get them back to you?" And I forgot to text him back. So he has our
Oh.
cameras right now.
Thanks.
Well, it's not like we need
Well,
them anytime soon.
I guess, but we don't want him to keep them so long he thinks they're his.
He wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
He's
you're
not
right.
that kind
You're
of
right.
person.
You're right.
Anyway,
Unlike-
so Matt Short, he's a few years older than us. He runs his own media production company called Bokeh Effects.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the first projects he did was there was a group of DJs here in Colorado that were going to be going on tour to Ichthus, which is a music festival in Kentucky. And they're like, hey, well, we want to do a web series while we're on tour. So if you guys want to come with us, we'll do like a daily web series, like basically a daily vlog for the band. And we're like, cool. And they offered to pay for everything. So it was like pretty much a free trip to a
that's
music
awesome.
festival in Kentucky, free road trip. And
Wow.
it was awesome. Mostly because I like road trips, and I like music, and I like media. And it was all three melded together perfectly.
And they called on your vlogging expertise, right?
Mostly Matt's, and I just got lucky because he chose to bring me with him.
Oh, okay.
So, because this is like before.
I didn't know Matt made vlogs.
No. It was. He does do his own vlog on YouTube.
Okay.
But is mostly just his media skills in general.
Right.
Because
But-
this is before we had built up a pretty hefty portfolio.
That's true.
But regardless, I got to go on a road trip to Kentucky to make daily web series videos for this band, the Transform DJs. And they're up on YouTube if you want to go watch them. I believe the channel is Transform DJs. It's called the Ice,
Makes sense.
right? It's such an appropriate channel name. I believe the web series is called I See You Moving web series. I See You Moving web series, because that was the name of their album or their single, one or the other, maybe both.
Okay.
And so we're down there, and what's cool is we got like backstage passes.
Right.
Since there had to be up on stage, we got like this all access backstage pass. And I didn't know it at the time, but my favorite band, Red, was headlining the whole event.
Yeah.
So I got to see Red live, which was cool, and we got to go like backstage too, and that was super cool. We didn't actually see Red backstage, but we saw their trailer
Oh,
backstage.
close enough.
Oh,
You
yeah.
got to like almost experience touching them.
Yes.
Almost.
What's funny too is I went backstage for their performance, but it had a lot of pyrotechnics and a lot of fire, and I was like uncomfortably hot. So I just went back into the crowd because I'm like, this is too, this is
Yeah.
unpleasant. How hot I am.
Can you imagine being them on
Oh,
the
yeah.
stage,
Got to be awful.
working out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because first off, they had the fire going off all around them. They're wearing pretty bulky costumes,
Oh,
so they're probably hot from that.
wow.
And then they're like doing like you have to put on a show. So
Yeah.
they're like dancing around and whatnot. And I'm like, man, they must be. I wouldn't be surprised if one of them just passes out right now.
Yeah.
But
I feel like that happens a lot to musicians early on,
oh yeah,
passing out on stage.
probably that and just blowing out their voice before
Well,
they learn to
that's
train
true.
it right.
That's true.
This guy Red, they have like a lot of in their songs different vocal effects, and I'm sure other bands do this, but I haven't seen it done before. In their live performance, they had like 4 different mics, and at certain points he would go set down the main vocal mic and then pick up another one and sing to that, and it had a different effect applied to that microphone,
Okay.
so that he could just
They usually have a pedal system where it's something on the floor and you press it with your foot as like a pedal, and that switches the line
Right.
out.
right. Which he was like running all across the stage back and forth, so maybe it's just because
It was part of the show.
I don't know,
Okay.
but
I don't know either, but
it was kind of cool. But that's not the point I want to talk about.
yes, espresso.
Espresso. So of course they're doing a show. The Transform DJs, the guys that were
Mhm.
helping out, they're doing a show every night, and late,
Right.
Because they're like an electro techno
Yeah.
kind of group. Which first off, most of the people like that is just kind of the culture of that
Mhm.
music genre is like late night and like
Yeah.
woo.
Well, when it's dark, you can see the neon lights better.
Yeah, and the glow sticks.
Yeah.
So basically, I think they went on at 11 every night, or 11 was the earliest they went on
Mm-hmm.
one of the nights. And we're running around on stage like with cameras filming them and whatnot. We had one night that was just terrible because for whatever reason we didn't charge the cameras. And so the batteries kept dying on us
Oh,
every
man.
5 minutes, and we're supposed to document the whole thing. And so we're just running, because we had backup batteries. We had them charging in the back of the stage, and then we'd run and film for like 2 minutes, and the battery would die, and then we'd take the one out of the charger, pop the other battery in, and we're just doing that back and forth, the both of us.
Wow.
So both of our cameras, we just didn't charge them the whole day. I don't know why. It was dumb.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. And then the last night, one of the guys that was helping out the Transform DJs, he's like, I brought an espresso machine because we're old guys. We're like 30, 40 years old. And staying up late and throwing techno gigs, it's kind of, it's wearing on the body. So I have an espresso machine.
Okay.
Anybody want espresso? I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll take it, whatnot. And because I assumed, espresso, I've heard that term before. It's just coffee, right? Yeah, just
Okay.
coffee. And so he makes my cup, and it's like one of these. If you guys are watching the video podcast, it's like one of these full.
A pretty standard mug size.
Yeah, it's about like half the way to 3/4 of the way full of just espresso, right?
Wow.
So, like
That's a lot.
A cup of espresso.
That's a lot.
right. And he made one for everybody. So he's like, all right, here's yours, Devin. I'm like, awesome. And I down it. And then
You downed it.
I downed it. No, I drink it because that's what I do with coffee, right? A lot of the
Okay.
time. It was
Did
late.
you put cream and stuff in it first?
No.
No. So
No.
just straight black espresso, you downed it.
Yes.
Wow.
Because it was late at night. I was rather tired. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I downed it.
Mhm.
And then one of the guys is like, hey, can you go check on Kyle, who's their breakdancer?
Okay.
He's like, he's running.
I like that that's the professional term for what he does. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they hired him on specifically just to do breakdancing.
That
And he's got to do breakdancing for like Tadashi and all these other big guys. It's awesome. But he was running the merch table. And like, well, we need him on stage here in a bit. Can you go run the merch table and see if he could, head over?
mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, cool. I run off to the merch area, find him. Like, yeah, they want you. And he's like, cool. So he runs off. And then I'm on my way back to the stage. And I make it like a third of the way back to the stage. I'm like, oh, my stomach. I need to. And they have bathrooms backstage, like fancy ones. And I'm like, I'll just do that. And so I'm like booking it. And then I start booking, and it starts turning into a jog waddle.
A jog waddle.
And then it just turns into an uncomfortable slow waddle. I'm like, I'm not going to make it to the bathroom backstage. I can't make it. So I had to bolt into an outhouse. But this was 11 at night. And so it's pitch dark, and I can't see anything. And I didn't want to make skin contact with the outhouse toilet seat, so I just kind of hovered above the outhouse toilet seat. And luckily, my aim was on. I didn't miss or anything, but that espresso went straight through me. I learned the hard way.
Yeah, it does
Espresso
that.
is not normal coffee, and coffee by itself, if you down, you're gonna feel
Some-
it in your bowels, right?
Gastrointestinal distress.
If you down a cup of espresso right away, that has disastrous effects on your digestive tract. Because my walk to the merch booth was like 5 minutes, and then back, I made it 2 minutes back before I'm like, no, this is not working.
That I can't say I've ever downed an entire cup of espresso. I've had a cup that I've sipped slowly over the course of 45 minutes to an hour, but that sounds intense.
I would not recommend it
Oh,
in any way.
I wasn't going to. I wasn't going to do that. No.
So yeah, pretty bad squirts, if you will.
Oh my! Wow.
Little team either.
I bet someone had to clean up and found that your aim was not as good as you thought it was.
It was pretty dang good.
You said it was dark though. How did you know?
Well, because afterwards I checked to make sure I didn't get any on myself or anything.
Okay.
So I pulled out my phone, and the only way this could have gone worse is if I had was using my phone as a light and actually dropped it into the. That did not happen, fortunately.
Wow.
So yeah, that was the last night, and that was fun.
No, that doesn't sound fun.
No, because then I'm running around, and fortunately, we weren't having battery issues. Cameras were charged,
Right.
everything was running fine. Except the whole time I'm waddling around on stage, oh, I don't feel good. I don't feel good at all.
That sucks.
But the videos turned out good, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, okay.
Espresso, it will destroy a man if drinking too fast
Apparently.
and on an empty stomach.
Yeah. Moderation, Devin. It's key in everything.
This is absolutely true. So yeah, that's my
All right.
story. That's my espresso story.
Well,
And we've now successfully talked for coffee for about
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit more. That's fun.
Yeah.
So shall we move
Well,
on?
coffee's great. I feel like the internet would be behind us with our coffee addiction.
Absolutely. Coffee's amazing. Plus, we
Yeah.
just live in a culture where we're always busy doing something, and coffee is a way to keep us going.
Yes. Yes, it is.
But for those of you watching the video podcast, you might notice, Devin, what are you wearing? And the answer is my work gear. I believe this is the first video even I've ever done in my work attire.
I think so.
I might have done one vlog in my work attire, but I'm not sure. Either way, for those of you watching the video podcast, boom, check it.
His
representing-
name. He has the name embroidered on his fancy jacket.
Yeah, so this is a standard Glow car wash attire. And I will definitely say this right here, this jacket, is the best part of the job.
Is it pretty warm?
It's pretty nice. It's a pretty dang good jacket.
Yeah, it
has my
actually
name-
looks pretty good.
Has my name embroidered.
See,
on,
that's the part I don't like.
It has my name embroidered on it, and they spelled it correctly too.
They did.
That's very rare that people actually spell my name right, and it's embroidered on my jacket.
Well, if you're going to embroider it on something and then they're going to correct you about spelling, you don't want to have to go get it re-embroidered.
We got the car wash logo embroidered on the other side, and it's a really nice jacket. Keeps me really warm. There's only one thing I don't like about it, which is this half the collar, for whatever reason, doesn't like laying down flat.
Okay.
So you could lay it down flat, but on its own, it'll just pop back up again, and it'll just sit like, right there. And so I'm trying to like do my job or turn, and it's always poking me in the neck. Always poking me in the neck.
Okay.
And it's annoying. But yeah, so that's why I came straight from work. Well, not straight from
That's
work.
a pretty first world problem. Like, I'm warm, I'm comfortable, I'm not worried about freezing to death, but this jacket keeps poking me. It's kind of annoying to wear.
It is kind of annoying to wear.
Yeah.
It is a first world problem,
Okay.
too. But yeah, so I came straight here from work to record the podcast for you guys because it's a labor of love. I left one job to go to the other. That doesn't
To
pay
be
me
fair, you're literally just sitting here talking. It's
It's-
not much of a job. The work of it comes later in editing.
money. Okay, yeah. Good. I was going to say, like, if you just left it there, like, it's not work at all.
No,
I was
no,
going to have to
it's-
leap across this table and throttle you to death in front of our live audience.
Okay. No, I meant that what you're doing right now is hardly working.
Yeah, no. I'm
Okay.
talking to you.
Exactly.
Now, when I have to edit it, that's going to be the pain.
Exactly.
So editing is not fun, especially I've mentioned this before, but the audio and the video slowly desynchronize, and that's the most painstaking process of the whole podcast editing. The video podcast editing, the audio is fine, but the video version, I have to every 3 to 5 minutes resync the audio because it slides out of sync, which is really annoying. But maybe once we get other cameras to record it, it won't be an issue. I don't know.
Maybe.
We'll find out.
I there's plenty of places where that problem can be.
Yeah, a
And so,
bunch.
yeah.
But anyway, speaking of my job, I got my first ever I got my first ever chemical burns.
Those aren't fun.
No, they aren't. I found that out the hard way.
Is it in a kiss mark on your hand?
No.
Okay, then this isn't Fight Club, I guess.
No.
Where's your chemical burn?
They are on my hands. They're not really that much there anymore, but you could see maybe a little pink splotch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not too dramatic. And then one on this hand too. That one's a bit more noticeable.
Yes.
But I guess I should show the camera.
Yeah.
You guys probably won't be able to see.
Not very well.
Well,
no.
I guess, yeah, you can see it a little bit, that pink splotch by my wrist.
Okay.
You can see it a little bit. It's more noticeable in person, but even Nick could attest to the fact that
It's hardly there.
it's hardly there. Mostly because it's healed over the course of the last 3-4 days,
Okay.
because I got it 3 or 4 days ago. We have this chemical called Bay Cleaner that we use to scrub down the walls, because the walls of the tunnel are just white bricks, and they get slowly yellow and brown because all the filth from the cars is just being flung onto the
That's-
walls.
Pretty disgusting.
It is. And so we have to take Bay Cleaner, which I believe is like a diluted form of hydrofluoric acid, and then just scrub that on the walls
Safe.
because it bleaches the walls. And it's like,
Right.
yay, they're
Yeah.
shiny. And normally the safety protocol is you wear nitrile gloves,
Right.
and then safety glasses. Right? I'm like, it makes sense, you know?
Yeah, if you're
And-
handling acid.
Yeah, and I was doing that, right?
Okay.
But we use like this wooden push broom, right?
Okay.
So it's like this brush head on a really long wooden pole. And the one I was using, halfway through me using it, it like corroded through the actual wooden, like, because there's the pole that you could screw into the head.
Right.
And that part had just gotten like too damp because we've had it for like 6 years.
Okay.
And it finally corroded through and it snapped into the bay cleaner. So without thinking, I just reached down into the bay cleaner, grabbed it, and pulled it out, right? And I was wearing the gloves, but it was deep enough a pool of bay cleaner that when I reached in to get the brush, it went down into the gloves. And
That's the worst because then the chemical, like the gloves forcing it onto your hand.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where when it first touches your skin, it just feels slightly itchy. And so I'm like, whatever, it's not that big of a deal. So I just kept on going, cleaned the walls without like washing my hands off or anything, right? Because in my brilliant mind, I'm just like, I'll get my work done and then I'll go wash off my hands.
Okay.
Right? And so it didn't really hurt until the next day. And then I'm like, ooh, this stings a lot. And of course, that's because it already settled in my hands. And even though I've washed my hands since then, it's like, no, it was in my skin,
Right,
damaging
yeah.
my skin. And chemical burns, oddly enough, very, very similar, at least in feel and appearance, to sunburns. Like
Okay.
it felt.
I feel like it depends on the chemical.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
But,
I
yeah.
haven't had a plethora of experience with
Okay.
different chemical burns.
No. Weird.
This being my first, and of course, it being bay cleaner, and bay cleaner is pretty super diluted compared to hydrofluoric acid. I got
Right.
pretty lucky.
Yeah, if it had been just a vat of acid, you probably wouldn't have much of a hand left.
Yeah, exactly. So this is nothing bad at all. But when I first got it, it felt and looked exactly like a really isolated sunburn. Like if I was wearing a full bodysuit, like a morph suit that just happened to have a hole at each wrist, and then stood all day in the sun, not moving.
Or you just took like a magnifying glass and
Ew.
seared your skin a little bit.
That would hurt.
Probably.
So yeah, my first chemical burns. I'm a real man now.
Is that what it takes? I was not aware.
Apparently, yeah. I was kind of hoping, develop superpowers or something. I could become like car wash man or
Well,
something.
Would you like kind of leak pus out of your hands a little bit? Would that be your power?
That'd be a lame superpower.
Yeah, but it'd be realistic.
Yeah, I guess it would. Turns out, getting involved in a chemical disaster or radiation disaster doesn't really turn you into a
No,
superhero.
Unfortunately not.
Like the old
It just kills
1960s
you.
cartoons told you. They lied, Nick.
And continue to. I mean, the Hulk, still a character.
Yeah. Makes me sad. Although, I may not be working at the Glow Car Wash for much longer.
All right. So surely we will hear an end to your work complaints.
Yes, hopefully.
No.
Or they might
We're
just
not.
transition
Yeah,
into
just
different work
Different
complaints.
names.
Yeah, and places.
Yep.
So, basically, my roommate, JT, which for those of you who've been longtime fans of our work, you may be familiar with JT. I've done a few videos with him back when we did the caffeinated vlog. He's my roommate. I may have mentioned that already. Did I just say he's my roommate twice?
Yep.
Okay.
You introduced him as your roommate, JT.
Well, anyways, my roommate, JT,
Right.
third time's a charm,
Anyway.
works at a movie theater that's literally within walking distance of our apartment.
Right.
And I might start working there. I'd make the exact same pay as I do now, and I'd make the exact same hours.
And you get to see movies.
Right. I wouldn't have to be outside in the weather all day long. I'd get free movies. My shifts wouldn't be at the butt crack of dawn. And I'd save...
Sometimes they might be.
I mean, they might be. But most like the busy shifts are like the midnight shifts
Yeah.
or midnight premieres. Which honestly, I'd prefer staying up that late and working that late as to like having to wake up at like
Oh, yeah.
5:30 to get ready to go to work.
Yeah.
So, make the same amount of hours, make the same amount of money, but I'd save a lot of money on gas.
Which is nice.
Yes, I'd save a lot of money on gas. It's a work environment I prefer working in. I wanted to be outdoors, get to work with roommates. Kind of cool. The real reason I want to switch over to the movie theater job instead of the car wash job is the work environment at the Glow is getting kind of petty.
Okay.
So I think I've ranted about this on the podcast before, but
It might have been just to me.
might have. I keep forgetting, like, we podcasted for so long. It gets to the point where, like, have we talked about this in real life or on the podcast? I'm not entirely
well,
sure.
Mostly it's confusing because the podcast is real life.
What?
There's just microphones.
Really?
Yep.
This is news?
It's not just a fantasy.
Okay.
This is real life.
So, basically, again, I can't remember if I ranted about this just to you or to the audience, but I have a coworker who consistently And this is across the board. Let's just say the workers at the Glow aren't the most hardworking people there
Yeah.
are.
It is a car wash that's
Yeah.
almost fully automated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of my coworkers, he shows up without fail an hour to 3 hours late. Pretty much every time. There's been
And-
like 2 or 3 times where he showed up early, and then like 5 times he showed up on time to work. But
And-
I'd say 2/3 to 3/4 of the time, he's between an hour to 3 hours late to make a shift.
Which is ridiculous to
Yeah.
me. I cannot fathom being anywhere close to 3 hours late.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 minutes if traffic was terrible.
Yeah.
But even an hour is unthinkable to me.
Well, and the thing is too, there have been times where I was scheduled to work a mid shift. He was scheduled to make work an opening shift, and I
Mhm.
got to work before he did. You know?
How do you open the store if you're not the first employee?
Well, we have 2 openers.
Oh, okay.
So with each shift, except for mid shift, we have 2 openers, a
Okay.
mid, and 2 closers.
Okay.
But still, so he's most of the time between 1 to 3 hours late. 3 is very rare. Most of the time, it's around an hour. But
That's-
still,
Wow.
and so not only that, but when he gets to work, he doesn't really do anything except for socialize with other coworkers. Like he doesn't actually work.
Mm-hmm.
Then, if the owners are going to come in, he has the audacity to try and play the manager role because he's not a manager.
Right.
But he, whatever. So he has the audacity to pretend to be like, well, I'm older than you and I've worked here longer, so they're coming in. I want to make sure you're on top of your game. And I'm like, I got here on time. You just got here.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't done anything. Don't you dare to pretend to tell me what to do. No.
Does he irritate you, Devin?
He
I'm
does.
getting the sense that he might be irritating.
Well, he doesn't do his work. He shows
I-
up late, and he does drugs on the job.
Yep.
He drops
That's-
acid on the job.
At least it would make the car wash more interesting.
I wouldn't know.
I would imagine.
But
I wouldn't know either.
he does acid. He drops acid
that's
at work
Ridiculous.
and just laughs it off. And I'm like, okay,
Well, if you're on acid, it's probably easier to laugh off being on acid.
this is probably true.
Say.
But like, put that on a resume. Yeah, guys, man, I show up between like an hour to 3 hours late. Just whenever I feel like it, and why do work? And it's just kind of defeats the purpose of me getting paid. I don't want to get paid to have to do something. I just rather get paid to not do anything.
I think he could
Just
get
let me
hired for middle management.
And just
A perfect
let
application.
just let me do drugs on the job, man. I'll totally work for you. That's his resume right there. And it's really aggravating me because he gets paid more than I do.
To not do anything.
Yeah, I show up to work on time, most of the time early. I do my job. Now, I'm going to say I haven't always had the best work ethic. There are times where I'm like, I'll take a 35-minute break. I'll take a 40-minute break instead of a half-hour break.
Yeah, but
But then I get
that's-
back and do my job.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, I do my job. I do my work. I get there most of the time early, and I don't do drugs, especially not on the
That's-
job.
Yeah.
So it's just ridiculous. And he makes more than me. And when I found that out, I'm like, okay, that's kind of the last straw. I want to leave this place. If this is the kind of, if this is your standards, the Glow car wash, then I don't want to be a part of it.
Okay. So the Glow not getting endorsements from Devin.
No.
Is it a good place to even get your car washed? Does it do a good job?
It does. I will give them that.
Okay.
For an express wash, it gets your car pretty clean for $7.
Okay.
Like, the wash itself, it does a decent job. The people there,
So the robots doing good.
The robot's amazing. I love the robots.
Okay.
The only time I don't love the robots is when we have to fix the robots.
Darn them breaking.
I know, but the robots are great.
Okay.
The coworkers and employees, it depends on which
Alright.
one, but meh. And the customers are, they suck.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, basically, I'm just done putting up with people in general.
So you're gonna go to the movie theater?
Yeah.
That great plan. That's a great plan, Devin.
Yeah, well, from what I've heard, I have 2 roommates that work at the same theater. They're like, yeah, customer service here is mostly just people wanting to know what movie theater to go to. Like, it's really, when you're providing a service at the car wash, like, people can point out what happened wrong. But when they're just paying to go see a
Right.
movie, they don't really complain unless something goes wrong with the movie or the people sitting around them.
I suppose, but I've
At which
I've
case,
heard some horror stories from some of my sister's friends who work at the theater.
True.
Apparently, the customers can get pretty crazy.
yeah,
Mostly in the food area is what I've heard.
yeah.
Is that's where the complaints happen.
But at the same time, your sister's friends are high schoolers, right? So
Yeah,
this is probably
that's
their
true.
first foray into customer service.
It very much could be hyperbolic, but
I I'm assuming it probably is.
Okay.
So.
I'm thinking that you're expecting less annoying customers coming into it, but they're going to be just as annoying because they're the same people.
Yeah, but there's less you can complain about in a movie theater.
Yeah, see, but
And you can't get as
feel
angry.
Like the people who complain, it doesn't matter.
Oh, they're everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you think so. Or
But it,
in
at
fact,
least
there isn't.
at the very least, it's an environment I like more.
Okay,
It's movies
it's dark.
and it's inside.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I'm not watching movies. That I'm not getting
That's
paid to
true.
like. But most of the time, it's like I'm showing people what movie theater to go to, or I'm picking up trash, or I'm like preparing food and whatnot, or cleaning the movie theaters.
Yeah,
But
see,
from what I've
all of
heard-
that sounds terrible to me.
From what I've heard, there's actually less kind of customer interaction at the movie theater, especially if you're.
I've never wanted to interact with the people that work there.
Yeah.
When I go to a movie, I just go in, buy my popcorn, sit down, and don't talk to them.
Yeah, and movie theater employees generally seem like not that stressed out.
Yeah.
So there we go.
I'm not worried about you.
That might be my new job.
I think you should do it.
I applied, and what's funny too is my roommate JT. I think he worked there for 2 months before becoming assistant manager. He went from a starting position to assistant manager in 2 months.
It's pretty impressive.
So there you go. And he put in the word for me too. So
Okay.
he has power and authority.
Yeah.
Apparently, everybody he's recommended for the job that they've hired have been like super good workers too. So that helps.
Yeah.
So hopefully, here soon, I will work at Cinemark movie theaters instead of the Glow Car Wash.
Do it.
I haven't told my manager this yet, so if he's listening, there you go, Tyler.
All right.
Now you know.
Tyler.
I apologize for not telling you sooner.
No, you don't.
Well, I want to get the confirmation that I've got the job before I tell him.
Well, absolutely. And then you put in your 2 weeks, and
Yep.
then you leave.
Well, I don't know if I want to put in my 2 weeks or not.
Oh, you want
Because-
to? Do you want to dramatically storm out?
No.
I feel like you should.
Exact opposite.
Oh,
I'm
do
going.
you just want to stop showing up?
I'm going to Iceland in May.
Oh, okay.
So what I might do is work for the car wash until I go to Iceland, and when I get back from Iceland, start working for Cinemark.
Okay.
Because it'd be a nice organic break in the workflow
Yeah.
instead of changing place of work, working there for a few weeks, and then going to Iceland and then coming back.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Speaking of Iceland, Nick,
Oh,
we have a new like on our Facebook page,
do we?
and that like is, and I'm probably gonna horribly mispronounce
I
this
can't
name,
wait.
is Gunnar Inge Gunnarsson, and he is Icelandic.
All right. Cool.
We have an
I
Icelandic
love-
viewer.
I love new fans.
Yay!
I won't say that.
I want to point
we'll
out
say his name sounds like Gundam. That's what I heard.
Gungan,
Gundam
Gundam.
or Gungan, like the guys from Star Wars,
Yeah.
the race.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking of the giant.
Well, I
jet.
don't know if it's pronounced. I'm still learning Icelandic. I don't know if it's pronounced Gunnar or Gunnar.
Don't ask me, man.
I
don't
like how
know.
bewildered you got. Like, I wasn't legitimately asking you for help, but you seem to think I was. Like, well, I don't know. What are you looking at me for?
Well, I want to accurately convey that I don't know Icelandic at all.
His middle
So-
name is much easier to pronounce. It's just Inge.
Inga.
Inge.
Okay.
INGI.
I'm gonna call him that.
Inge?
Inga. Because I
Gunnar
can say
Inge.
it. Because I can say it.
Okay. Anyway, so he's our
I'll
new
call him G.
G.
Yeah.
G. He's our new like on Facebook. What I want to point out, Nick, is again,
International.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I feel like we're highly underrepresented here in America.
Underrepresented.
Underrepresented. I speak good English, Lee,
You know, I guess maybe just learn Icelandic really well.
and then just speak better than
And,
English.
Yeah, pretend that English was your second language.
Jeg heiti Devin,
Yeah.
frá Bandaríkjunum, 20 ára og tala spænsku og ensku.
It sounds flawless to me,
Ég,
but I guarantee that it's not.
ég tala ekki íslensku.
Okay.
There you go. You have no
Awesome.
clue what I said.
I heard Iceland, and my name is Devin.
My name is Devin. I'm from America. I'm 20 years old.
Okay.
I speak English and Spanish. I don't speak Icelandic. En ég að læra. But I'm learning.
Okay.
So there you go.
Nice.
Icelandic lesson for everybody. I've gotten much better since my first attempts.
It definitely sounds like it.
In the, Granted, I've just practiced those sentences over and over again. I can't say
Okay,
anything.
okay.
I can't say any more.
Right.
Just the first few sentences, I've gotten better speaking.
So your introductions will be very good.
yes.
I've actually had to speak Spanish at work a couple times now.
really?
Yes. I'm the only one who knows any amount of Spanish, and a couple times people come in, and the first time I got really lucky, and she didn't say any ingredients that I didn't know the English or the translation for, because like I don't know what I don't know black
Pepperoni.
olives. Pepperoni is just pepperoni.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because it's I don't think it's an English word. It's an Italian.
This is
So
true.
they just call it. They just say it differently. But one time I had a group of like Mexican construction workers come in, and they tried to speak Spanish, and I had to tell them that we don't cook it, like we don't cook the pizza, and it took a while for them to get that because my Spanish, I guess, is bad, or maybe they were just obstinate. I couldn't tell
Gotcha.
because I don't speak very well. But yeah,
I gotta use Spanish at work the other day as well.
Yeah.
This guy came through, got his car washed, and he had a power antenna, and we have to ask them if their power antennas go down because power antennas get
Oh,
snapped off by
okay.
brushes.
Yeah.
And so I went over after I got his payment, whatnot, walked back over. I'm like, does your antenna go down? Sorry? Does your antenna go down? No understand. I don't speak English. Oh, la parte de tu coche para la radio? And
Okay.
That's pretty much all I said. And I pointed to her. It's like, oh, yeah. And then he like turned off the radio and the antenna went down.
Okay.
And in retrospect, I'm like, that wasn't the best Spanish I've ever put
yeah,
out.
no. When
It's
you're
like in
on
the
the spot,
yeah.
it's terrible.
When you're on
and
the
then,
spot,
and
and
then you spend the next 20 minutes figuring out exactly what you should have said.
Exactly.
And then you feel like an idiot.
right?
It
So-
was awful. It's awful.
Just in the moment, all I could say was like, la parte del coche para la radio, the part of your car for the radio.
Yep.
I didn't even tell him what to do with it. I'm just like, hey, the part of the car for the radio.
Yeah, but
and then I just kind of like air mine pushing it down. Because again, like
Yeah.
in the moment, you're like, foreign language that I kind of know how to speak. Words.
Yeah,
Mental dictionary.
I basically told the construction workers that we cannot are able to have a kitchen with pizza. I think is what it like technically would translate to, but they got the point that we don't cook it. So
Okay.
Yeah.
That was not.
well, because I didn't conjugate cocinar at all.
Conjugation. Okay. Not to go on a whole foreign language rant, but here I go.
Well, we conjugate things in English too.
Well, this is true. All languages conjugate,
yeah.
turns out. But the main issue with Spanish is, we've taken years of Spanish, and
Yeah.
I felt pretty fluent in it by the time I was done with my Spanish studies. The problem is, conjugations is what I've forgotten the fastest. Like, I
Mhm.
keep forgetting what conjugations are for what tense, and I've just forgotten a whole bunch of different conjugations altogether. So I
Yeah.
know all the verbs, and I'm like, how do I
Right.
make and another
It's
quick
hacer is how do you make?
hacer,
It's to make.
cocinar.
It's to cook.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
I feel like I made a bad joke and you misunderstood it.
oh, did I?
Yeah, I think so.
Gotcha. Anyway,
Okay.
also I was talking with an Icelandic pen pal, and she's saying that their word for to conjugate literally translates to verb bending or bending verbs.
Bending verbs. That's interesting.
Because that's technically what you're doing. It's just
I
a cool way of
suppose.
talking about it.
Yeah, like bending it into the past or the present. That's interesting.
Or to the person.
Well, yep.
There you go. Indicative. Boom. All the
All right.
tenses. We you know what we should do? We should do a Spanglish
No.
podcast.
No.
Do a podcast teaching you how to speak perfect, semi-broken, fluent Spanish.
Wouldn't that just be teaching them Spanish and telling them not to use it for a couple years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's teach them how to speak Spanish fluently and then make them promptly forget how.
That,
To speak
that's
Spanish.
a terrible idea.
So yeah. Back to the Icelandic thing real quick.
Okay.
I actually was in contact with Gunnar before he liked the Facebook page.
Okay, so he's more a fan of you than our stuff.
I wouldn't say a fan.
Whoa.
I'd say a correspondent.
Okay. But if he liked our stuff first, he would be a fan.
Yes.
So,
I think that's how that works.
okay, terminology. Anyway.
Anyway, basically, for those of you who haven't listened to this podcast ever, you will not know that I'm going to Iceland in May. I'll be in Iceland from May 1st to May 9th. So we're probably going to take a break from podcasting while I'm doing that.
All right.
We'd need a really long XLR cable.
They sell them in really ridiculously long lengths.
They do, but like 7,000 miles. We need a 7,000 mile long XLR.
They
cable.
have connectors.
They do. We could do it.
And we'd need amplifiers as well.
We would need. Well, if we're gonna do that,
They'd have to be waterproof.
because we'd have to find a way to feed them off the plane as the plane's going
Well,
across.
that's easy. It's just a giant spool. Your carry-on luggage will weigh a lot, though.
I just got the mental image of like a commercial jet with this giant spool, like just as big as a plane, like unraveling XLR cable.
Yeah.
I feel like this is impractical.
I think so.
Just recording a Skype conversation would be easier.
Yeah,
But I'm gonna be too busy while in Iceland to do a podcast.
I assume so. Yeah.
So basically, I've been finding a lot of organizations in Iceland to potentially volunteer at or work for, and I think I found the one that I want to go with, which is Lofstofen. I might be pronouncing that wrong. I'm not sure if it's Lofstofen or Lofstofen.
Don't know.
Again, Icelandic. I don't
Yep.
have an Icelander right here to correct my pronunciation. So, basically, they are.
I pictured one like parrot style on your shoulder, like just no, it's Eslef or whatever.
What's
Just
that, Nick?
correcting
How's
you.
that go?
I don't know. I forgot it already.
Nick,
The
speak.
Stufen?
Nick,
Is
speak.
that what you said?
Speak your best Icelandic.
Las. No.
Nick, speak Icelandic.
Lofstofen? Is that what you said?
Loftstofen.
Lofstofen.
It's
Or
L-O-
Leftstofen.
Loftstofen. Loftstofen.
Lofstofen.
It means loft gathering or meeting in the loft, something along those lines.
Okay.
So loft is obviously
So you're gonna volunteer at an Ann Taylor loft.
no.
Okay.
Basically, they're a church that got started like a year ago, I believe. Composed of a lot of 20-something-year-olds, and they, I've not talked with him for very long, but Gunnar was talking about how they want to start like a media company, branching out from underneath it, and do a whole bunch of media stuff. And they've actually been needing somebody to help volunteer and get that jump started for a while. And so he's like super excited. He's like, "Yeah, you could help us out with that." I'm like, "Yeah, I'd totally like to help out with that." So we'll see what happens
right.
while I'm out there. But I'll have news for you guys when I'm back. So that's exciting.
After May 9th.
After May
so
9th.
Coming up soon.
Yeah, 2 months. In 2
Yeah.
months. You never
Okay.
know. The older you get, the faster time flies by.
It's true.
Like 2
And-
months is going to be here like tomorrow.
Yeah. It's kind of weird because every year that you're alive is less percentage of the time you've been alive. So that's why it feels like it's less time.
Yes. Vsauce actually
Yeah,
did a video.
exactly.
Have you seen that video?
Yeah, that's what I'm.
That was a great video.
Yeah, like your first year of life is 100% of your life.
Yes.
The second year of your life is only 50% of your life.
Yeah.
And so on.
Which
So it makes it seem exponentially less percentage of your life.
so scientifically, time actually does go by faster the older you get. Relatively. Like from your
Oh, okay,
perspective,
yes, okay.
scientifically, from your perspective, like time itself doesn't accelerate faster.
No. But, I mean, it is relative.
Yes. So that was interesting. In that video, they were talking about how they did a study with a bunch of like 80-year-olds, asking them to look back in their life and
Their midpoint of life was
Yeah.
still in their 20s.
comment what they not what the logically the middle point of their life was, but what they felt like the middle of their life was, and it was in their 20s. So Nick, you know
Yeah.
what that means?
That's where we are at.
We're in our midlife crisis right now.
Oh, okay.
So we're halfway through our lives in terms of
I
experientially.
don't even know what to do. I'm crisising right now.
So the amount of time that has happened up till now is the same length that it feels like will happen from here until we die. So we're halfway through. We're
thanks.
halfway through.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
What else? There's something else in that video that I want to talk about that is pretty dang interesting, and I can't remember it off the top of my head.
Don't know.
How did-
It's been a while since I've seen that one.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just weird stuff to think about like that.
Yeah, yeah. It puts perspective into perspective.
Yeah. Whoa.
That's
Perspectception. You know, because Inception,
Yeah, no,
but with
what were you
perspective.
gonna say though?
Okay. But so you just brushed off my really
Yep.
bad Inception joke?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I feel like you make them too frequently. You need to see another movie.
It's such a good movie, though.
Yeah, but
I need to see Gravity.
you haven't seen it?
I haven't seen it.
It's out on DVD now.
I know.
so
it's great.
see it.
I'm gonna wait till it's on
Literally, who do you know with the biggest screen?
our apartment.
Okay, then watch it on that. That's fine.
Okay.
But it has to be on the biggest possible screen.
That's what I've been told.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to watch it. I do remember what I wanted to talk about from that video.
Okay.
Novel experiences. So he was saying
Yes.
how
Right.
the more you get set in a routine, the faster it seems that life is going to go by, because when you experience something new,
Mm-hmm.
your mind has to process it.
And more of your mind is activated in processing it.
Right. So it feels like time is slowing down, or it feels like you spent more time doing something in
Yeah.
retrospect because it was a new experience for you. And so their advice is, if you want life to go by as slowly as possible, or feel that it's going by as slowly as possible, engage
Read
in
novels.
no.
Oh, okay. There. I
Engage in
misinterpreted
as
it.
many new novel experiences as you can.
Yeah.
Like travel as much as you can, that kind of stuff. Which technically this means, Nick, I've got you trumped when it comes to slowing down my life, because I've been to Peru, okay?
That's
and
true.
now I'm going to
It's true.
Iceland. So
Yep.
I've done more traveling, so I have more novel experiences, so my life is passing by slower than yours.
I feel like there's a lot more to that. Like I've had maybe more novel experiences here.
Okay, well, true. It doesn't help that I'm not a big fan of risks,
No,
even
no,
to the point where
yes.
I don't like riding roller coasters.
That's ridiculous.
I hate roller coasters.
Roller
They
coasters
suck.
are so much fun.
No,
I
went
love roller coasters. I will
Lakeside
literally go
forever
on
scarred
anyone.
me.
I love that roller coaster.
Lakeside, for those of you who don't know, which is all of you, I'm assuming, is a local amusement park. Old amusement. I think it's over 100 years old at this point.
I don't know off the top of my head.
I
But
think I
know
remember
it's-
them.
It's old and falling apart.
Yeah, I remember them celebrating a 100-year anniversary not too long ago.
Okay.
So it's over 100 years old. They have two roller coasters there. One's called the Cyclone.
Yep.
And one's called, I believe, the Flying Chipmunk.
I don't know.
It's something chipmunk. I want to say Flying
Okay.
Chipmunk.
That makes
Um,
sense.
And the Cyclone's more of an old school, like older, just wooden roller coaster.
Yeah.
With like not too sharp at drops and whatnot. And the Flying Chipmunk's like back, forth, drop, up, like that kind of stuff. Like it just makes you nauseous. And I went to Lakeside on a field trip in like 3rd grade, and I've been scarred from roller coasters ever since.
Yeah.
Although, you know what ride I did really love?
So apparently novel experiences just stop you from experiencing things.
Yes.
Okay.
You know what I did love?
What did you love?
The ride where you get in and it spins and the centripetal force pushes you against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
There's different versions of that I've seen at different parks. I've seen the ones where it's open walled, so
Mhm.
people outside can see, and then I've seen ones that it's a sealed container.
Yeah.
And those ones are more fun because you don't have to get like buckled in or anything, right?
Right.
So the one I went on, it was in like a concealed pod that looked like a UFO, and you get inside and then you
Okay.
get pushed against the walls. But there's like a DJ in the middle, right? Who's not spinning. Like he's in the cylinder in the middle that's not spinning. He's like playing.
Interesting.
He's like playing music and whatnot, and you can push yourself all the way up the wall. Like the centripetal force, you could just like shimmy all the way to the top of the wall, and then when it slows down, you just like slowly slide back down to the bottom. It was super cool. I love that ride.
That's pretty cool. Have you seen the Family Guy where he throws up in that and it travels all around the entire wall, just getting over everybody?
No,
It's
but
pretty
that would
fun.
be awful.
It's pretty funny.
That would. I've never thought about that. If somebody were to throw up on one of those rides, that'd be awful.
Yeah, it would be.
I'm sure it's happened
I
too.
guarantee so.
I've seen people throw up in the Tower of Doom before.
I have not.
Again, for those of you who don't know, which is all of you, we have another amusement park in the capital, Denver, called Elitch's. It's technically called
Elitch Gardens, but it's Six Flags amusement park. So
It's technically Six Flags Elitch Gardens.
basically, some guy named Elish made a garden a long time ago, and then Six Flags bought it and added roller coasters.
Maybe.
That's an abbreviated history of it.
Okay, good to know. But for those of you from America, you'll be familiar with the Elitch, well, not Elitch's,
Six
with
Flags.
Six Flags.
Yes.
Because there's Six Flags Magic Mountain, Six Flags.
There's a lot of theme parks run by the Six Flags
Right.
Corporation.
So tons of Six Flags. And we don't call it, every Coloradan calls it Elitch's
Yes.
because that's what it
That's
is.
right.
It's
It's
Elitch's. It's not.
Six Flags at Elitch Gardens. So
So for those of you who are familiar with Six Flags, just think of that. But we have a ride at Elitch's, a.k.a. Six Flags.
just
Can I just call it Elitch's?
just whatever you want to call it. Stick
Okay.
with it.
Okay. But we have a ride here at Elitch's
Okay.
called the Tower of Doom, which every amusement park has some iteration of this. It's the super tall tower, and there's like seats that you get in that go all the way up to the top of the tower, and then it free falls, and then you arrive at the bottom, right? So it's just like a free fall drop. And I've seen people throw up on that before.
Throw up, and then it's like right here until you slow down, and then it falls down.
Well, what's nasty about it is because I've never ridden the Tower of Doom, because I never will, because
All right.
heights.
Scary.
I don't like heights, and I don't like excessive speed.
What's wrong with you? It's so much fun.
So that's like you're falling really fast from a really tall height. So that just combines both of them. I don't like it.
Yeah, it does.
The only way they could make this worse is if spiders are crawling at you on the same time.
I'd still probably go.
No, that'd be
You know.
awful. I hate spiders. So I do love watching people ride it, though. Like
Okay.
the sheer terror on their face. I get to live vicariously through their terror. And there's this one guy, or maybe it was late. I couldn't tell. It was years ago, too. But they got to the top of the tower, and it must have been nerves or something, because he starts throwing up before the tower drops, and then the tower drops, and he's still throwing up. So he's like, blah, blah, right?
Do you think it helped pull it out of his stomach?
Probably.
Like he threw up faster than he would have otherwise.
Yeah. And so it's one of those things, too, where even though he's like, he's falling and he's vomiting as he's falling, like you would assume like it would just kind of stick with him, but it like flies up.
Well, I'm sure that it has more
Wind resistance.
wind resistance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's funny because the tower's falling and it's like, and it's like flying above him, and then it stops and all the vomit's like, and like falls back down.
Gross. That is so gross.
So he vomited on himself from above. Because he vomited, it all flew up, and then as it stopped, it all caught up with him and hit him on the head and just splattered everywhere
Oh
around.
my God.
I'm sure it got on the people around him, too. Like, that's
so
just,
bad.
right? Like, this kind of stuff happens at amusement parks, and nobody ever thinks about it.
I'm sure the people who clean it up think about it a lot.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Like, I guarantee you that happens at least a few times a day at any
Probably.
given amusement park.
Probably.
Mm.
A few times. I guarantee it happens constantly.
Nick, I consider this as, a successful podcast.
I
We've
think
talked
so.
about various forms of liquid bodily projectiles.
Yep, we went from one end to the other. Just,
Great bookmarks.
I guess.
Oh,
I
that's-
guess.
Have we hit a new low?
No.
Start talking
Our
about
low,
like.
our low was the egg argument. I feel like.
Yeah, that's true. Well, let's never go that low
Okay.
again. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
I got Dark Souls 2 because
Do-
it came
do
out
you?
on Tuesday, and I played it from midnight, 9.5 hours straight.
Is
until
it
9 a.m. in the
crazy difficult like Dark Souls 1?
morning. It is amazingly hard. It is so much fun.
More difficult or less difficult?
It's different. Basically, the enemies in Dark Souls 1 were definitely punishing and unforgiving, but they were a lot more predictable. So they've added different attack patterns, because usually the enemies in Dark Souls 1, they had a 1, a 1-2, or a 1-2-3 attack pattern. And once you learned that and which attack started each one, you could successfully dodge it.
Right.
But in Dark Souls 2, they can do up to a 4 attack pattern, and they can cut it off or extend it at will. Like, it's apparently random. So sometimes you'll be fighting something, and you'll feel 100% confident that its third attack will be its last, and then it'll just slam you in the ground and do a fourth one out of nowhere. And then you die.
Not having played Dark Souls, I will take your word for what you're talking about
Okay.
and nod and
All right.
just pretend to agree.
Yes. But it seems like they made items easier to get. So
Again, I will
Yeah.
nod and pretend
Okay.
I know what you're talking about.
it's a lot of fun, though, and I can't wait to play more of it.
Sounds good. I'm sure we'll hear more about it on the Nerd News podcast.
I could talk more in depth about it, but no one else has played anything like it, so.
That's true. That was my subtle
Okay.
plug for our other podcasts. And you
Yes.
just destroyed
I
it.
did. Well, because I wasn't probably going to mention it too much.
Okay. Well, still, we do another podcast called the Nerd News podcast.
Yep,
You should check it out. It's about nerdy stuff.
it is.
Yeah.
Okay,
So that being said, I think that's going to wrap up the podcast.
I think so.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. It helps. We appreciate it.
It does.
And that's why we do what we do, is so
yep.
we can entertain you guys
So you can listen.
and we can build a community. But that being said, again, this podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Go check them out. You can get yourself a free audiobook download and free 30-day trial of their service. Try it out. See if you want it. And if you do, boom, there you go. Audible. It's awesome. Go to audibletrial.com/practiceslacker, and you can get all of that for free. And it helps them out, helps us out, helps you out. Boom.
Do it.
Everybody wins.
Yep.
Also, time to let you know our social networking links that we do at the end of every podcast.
It's true.
That way you can
We've
connect
said
with
them
us.
frequently.
We say them every week.
Yeah.
But that way you guys can connect with us and we can help build a community together. You can send us feedback.
Our email is feedback at.
Nick,
every
already
time.
forgotten everything.
Yep.
This is going to be a tough one for Nick. I could just sense it now. Nick,
Feedback at proactivesoccermedia.com.
there you go. That's it.
Or
What's the
720-295-0885.
again?
Leave a voicemail message at 720-295-0885.
Again, that number is.
Stop.
That's what the infomercials do.
Yeah, I know, but they can rewind on this.
That's true. All right. Well, that was anticlimactic.
Okay.
You could also check us out on YouTube,
YouTube.com/proactivesoccers.
Facebook,
Facebook.com/proactivesoccermedia.
Twitter,
Twitter.com/PSM_company.
our website,
proactivesoccermedia.squarespace.com.
and we have our own personal Twitters.
I'm at ProSoccerNick, and he's at Devin_H.
Yes, that's
You can read his jacket on the video podcast to learn how to spell Devin.
yes. I spell out my name every single podcast because it's spelled unusually, but just watch the video podcast. You can figure out how to spell it right there. Just add an H at the end. Boom. And that's my Twitter handle.
Well, and an underscore.
And I also have it at the bottom of the screen right now. If
It's-
you're watching if you're watching the video podcast, that's kind of
I guess that makes it easier.
so there you go. You can follow us on Twitter. You could also help support us via our Patreon page
Patreon.com/PSM.
and our Cafe Press store.
Cafepress.com/PSM. No, Proactive Soccer Media.
Yes. Nick, you got
You're adding every time. We keep adding more and more links, and then you do them out of order every time.
it's because I like watching
okay.
you
It's-
unravel at the end of the podcast. It's like your brain's exploding and you don't know how to deal with all this new
because
information.
I've been sitting down, relaxed, having a conversation, and then suddenly it's a test that I forget about every week.
One of these days you'll get an A on it.
I feel like I
But-
did that one last 2 weeks ago.
But today was like a C. Maybe that's a new segment we could do at the end of the
okay.
podcast.
Like,
Like,
I feel like my judgment was unfair. I messed up twice in total.
yeah, it's
out
like
of
that's
like
like
10
a
links.
C plus.
That's an 80%.
Fine, B minus.
That's just a B. 80%.
B minus.
Devin Gray Hartley, apparently.
Yeah. So there we go. That's a new segment we could start doing at the end of every podcast. We could do that Nick's grade at the link test, right? And depending on how good you do, how flawlessly you do it, and how fast you do it, you'll get a grade accordingly. And if you ever get an A plus, we'll throw a party and get you like a little treat. All right. Thank you guys for listening. And we will be back next week, next Thursday night or Friday, depending on whether or not you're watching the live stream for the Practice Slacker podcast. And then we'll also be on Sunday night for the live stream for the Shorts and Series podcast and Monday for the post-recorded Shorts and Series podcast. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you later. Nick with
Bye.
nothing. He doesn't care about you
Goodbye.
guys,
No,
apparently.
I was upset with you.
Were you?
That's what I was communicating.
Well, now the audience is upset with you for not caring. Give them a heartfelt goodbye.
See ya. I don't do heartfelt very well.
I could tell.
I don't.
Jeez.
Never. I've never been good at it.
Don't worry.
Goodbye.
I'll fire him.
No.
Yeah.
All this negative money that I'll miss out on.